Welcome to EventUp, the place where people enthusiastic about events stay in the know on the latest trends within the events industry. Live, hybrid, and virtual experiences. From virtual events to conferences, award galas, and everything in between.
Planners need to look at themselves not just as executioners, but as strategists. And that's a shift also. So when I came into the different organizations, I wanted to be known for three things. No matter what company I worked for, I wanted to be known as a business strategist. I knew how to come up with ideas and innovation. I wanted to be known as a revenue driver. I know how to further pipeline, further revenue for the organization via events. And I wanted to be known as a leader of high performing teams. And so as soon as I walk through the door, my mind is thinking about how do I use these different levers in this organization to showcase those three things so people understand the value I'm bringing to the table. I'm not just a planner. I'm not just an executioner. I'm a business strategist. And I think planners need to start thinking about themselves in that way, because then that's how they're going to create the language to convince their C-suite and management why this feeds into the pipeline of revenue or strategy for the organization. Continuing to pursue places and spaces that give me opportunity to innovate. I like to see myself as a fixer. I also like to see myself as we can do better, but we're not competing with others, we're competing with ourselves. How do we continue to just up the ante for ourselves year over year? How do I make sure my team feels supported? I don't care if you work in registration versus if you are a producer for our media division as a camera person, you are ideating for that particular thing. And they love it because they get to be creative in ways that they can't do in their day to day. So for me, continuing to provide those platforms to my team to be creative, continue to push myself to say, what are we going to take our risk on? Like 80-20 rule. We're going to be 80% great, 20% we're going to learn from. Let's go. Let's do this. No perfectionism here. Like, I love that. And I think that helps to keep me growing and elevating within my career. It's just like when you're in the airplane and you say you have to put your oxygen mask on first before you can do it on others. If I don't put my oxygen mask, knowing I have this very big role and a lot of responsibility, I'm a big contributor to revenue for this organization. If I don't give myself space to put my oxygen mask on, I will be no good to anybody. And so for me to kind of leaning into that fact and acknowledging that, I know when to step back and take a breather, take a break, take time for myself, that has helped me to continue to be calm when you do come into spaces where a lot of anxiety, others are having a lot of anxiety or a lot of worry about things, because a calm mind can help bring solutions to the table more than a chaotic. How are we bringing up the next generation? Like, I always talk about how amazing this industry is, how viable of a career you can have in this industry. You can grow, you can make money in this industry. And I think it's really important for us to think about mentorship and sponsorship of the younger generation, being more diverse and pulling more diverse people into these different organizations for events and within leadership. And really thinking about how do we give back more, because, a lot of us are aging. Some of us are aging out. People still, like, I never knew this was a whole industry when I was in college. And like, you knew of weddings and you knew of other, like, those were the planners. You didn't know there was like a whole conference community out there planning. And I think we need to talk about that more with our young kids who are teenage kids who are coming up or talking at schools or whatever. And I just think the viability of this industry is important, and we need to be focused on bringing up the next generation.
Young marketers, I think I've always been a fan of people starting their career in an agency, because agencies have an opportunity to provide different clients, different business models, different cultures. Just, you get exposure to a lot of things. And I think it's really good. You kind of know what you like, what you don't like. Those kinds of things is just early career. It's a good idea. That's a piece of advice. The other is say yes, even if it sounds like scary move. Another yes that I had said to was I moved to Geneva, Switzerland when I was with HP for a year and moved my family there for a year. Didn't speak the language, uprooted from California and went there and lived there. And it was the most amazing experience. And sure, we were scared and nervous and all those kind of things, but just say yes. I think is just a powerful way to continue to advance your career. And then the last one is your career is on you. If you're fortunate, you'll have a manager who does look out for you. And, to some degree, all managers do that at a base level. But really thinking about you and your career, my advice is you are in charge of that. And you're lucky if you have a leader who will help you, but you think about what are the next things that you want to do and be open to making those things happen for yourself and not sitting back and waiting for someone else to do it for you.
As I go back to kind of leaning into the storytelling and being authentic, it's figuring out what makes your product unique and really leaning into that. Understanding who your target audience is and what's important to them, I think helps shape your messaging. And to me, it's remaining authentic to your intentions and your messaging and your brand. And I think also as just individuals, it's building confidence in yourself. You earned your role, you've earned your promotion, and really owning that, I think, is huge. And understanding, I think one of the best pieces of advice I actually received from our former CEO was learning how to effectively communicate across different audiences. So being able to do that effectively is really going to position yourself well within your peers, your leadership, and really kind of position you to grow within your career.
The most important part is really building your network. It really is. It's more important than jumping from job to job. It's keeping in touch, going to those networking events, keeping in touch if you do move on, keeping in touch with your old colleagues and going, especially if there's any colleagues that ever get laid off or something, like that happens, reach out to them. Be that person that, people will automatically think about because you're always engaging with them. And it's the network that really, because I wouldn't have this job had I not kept in touch with the person who at the time when we worked together she was just a publicist at Universal Home Entertainment. Okay. And we worked together on a direct to home entertainment title. And then over the years, we'd always kept in touch, but over the years, she elevated to the head of global publicity at Warner Brothers. So it just shows it's more of a long game, is maintaining your network and building up that network. And don't ever talk bad about people because it'll get back. It'll come around. That's what I would say, is your network is super key.
I think it's so important to find creativity and find sparks in anything that you do. I think it's really easy early on to get really caught up in well, why don't I get to work on this? Or why am I doing this? But understanding fundamentals, but then also being able to bring your own perspective to it, I think is such a bigger display of creativity than doing the cool ad. Right. Because I just, and I think that's where, I always say my brand purpose or my purpose that I, tell my team is I bring extra to ordinary. And I think, I just, that is what I would use as parting advice for any of my mentees or just anyone coming into the organization is just positivity, curiosity really go a long way in, anything that you do. It doesn't have to be marketing alone.
I think really understanding the business that you're entering and really understanding how that company makes money is really important. I've seen a lot of marketers who are so incredibly creative, but they miss the mark on, what the business objectives are and how the product works. So I think that's really important. I also have seen, marketers who are so into the data that they're not creative. So it's really, I think those two components is understand the business, and it's your job as a marketer to be the steward of innovation and to be able to express and show what your product, service, brands stands for in a very compelling way. And the other thing I would say is to every time you think you're comfortable, when you are comfortable is when you should move to a new role, to a new company. You should be learning, you should be growing, you should be imparting wisdom. And if you're not, then you have to challenge yourself.
Creators are so ingrained in the world of the creator economy. They know what's trending, they know who's trending. So I would even tap some of those relationships for ideas on who else they can partner with. Do they have a friend that would be a good fit for, and bring an added voice or an added value or an added trust point for the brand or for the event or whatever it is that you're building. So leaning on the creator, not just for the actual task, but for their community and for their network. And I think I tend to kind of fall back on community a lot because that's just my world and something I really deeply believe in. But building a strong community, a strong network with creators, with your audience, with whoever it is that you're working with is ultimately going to make any brand or company successful.
EventUp is brought to you by Innovate Marketing Group. To find out more, check out innovatemkg.com. And finally, we hope you enjoyed this episode. Please leave us a rating and review to let us know what you think. Thank you for listening. Tune in next time on EventUp.